Let's have a conversation. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, all? Good evening. Hold on a minute, Danny. All right. Grabbing wine and tissues after the family messages. Yeah, the last episode had the family messages. Man, those were emotional, weren't they? Those were some really emotional family messages. I loved all of them. Even Brett. I'm not a big fan of Brett, but I liked his family message. Danny, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Dolly won't make it. She is in Atlanta and they had a tornado, so she doesn't have power.
Oh boy.
But everyone's safe. They just
Okay.
don't have power.
Thanks for the update.
No worries. So I watched the episodes and I'm kind of excited. That those were some really good episodes.
Very good episodes. I agree. Very good episodes. So, the first couple of episodes, we can dive into those.
Mhm.
Yeah, Nick, I didn't know that Brett's mom had passed either.
Yeah, that was news to me.
Yeah. The first couple of episodes, I feel like, were the Marvin arc,
Mhm.
episodes 9 and 10, because nobody got eliminated. Nobody got blocked in episode 9. So it was kind of like figuring out what was going to happen with Marvin.
Right.
So what did you think of that whole situation?
Okay, how did he not know after they played the game in episode 8 what the problem was? That part just I was flabbergasted that he was just like, I don't understand what the issue is. Why
I
are they
was
mad at me?
I was so baffled by his conversation with Chaz when he said, "Oh, I didn't know. Could that be it? Could it be that that I called two women my queen and I was flirting with Tamira and Raven at the same time?" I'm like, really? Is he just
Exactly.
playing dumb or what? I don't know.
I mean, after Savage questions, he should have known what the issue was. Like, they made it abundantly clear.
Yeah,
So I was like, I was taken aback that he still didn't get it. I'm like, this man can't be that slow. Like, he can't.
I was cracking up with the host like 3 college degrees,
Right.
3 college degrees, and can't take some context cues.
You know? And then the whole Tom thing, I was, I didn't know how I felt about that. Like, I kind of felt like I got why Tom told her, but at the same time, I'm like, are you digging a hole for yourself?
I I don't really like Tom that much. I'm not like the biggest fan of Tom, and it felt like he tried to act like he was helping her out. He said, "Oh, she needs to know," but he clearly just didn't like Marvin at any point. So it
Right.
seemed a little bit more self-serving to me than something to really help out Raven the way he was trying to paint it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the leftover situation and Michael. It's like, did you really say it because you felt some kind of way about Kyle, or did you say it to help your game? And I think,
That's a perfect example. I feel similarly about that.
yeah, I
Like,
really felt like Tom, that's what he was doing. And so I was just like, it's so disingenuous. Just, oh,
yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like, yes, there's a situation that's going on with Marvin, but it's like I don't think that he was like it's so important for me to let Raven know because he shouldn't be playing Raven. It was like this just happens to play into my game
mm-hmm.
and I can spin it as being the right thing at the same time.
Right, because he'd already gotten in trouble about the whole revolution. So now he's like trying to backpedal and like amend fences. And he's like, well, I can use this to get good in with Raven since she's influenced a lot of times. But at the same time, I'm like, if you really feel that way, as soon as something happens, your knee jerk reaction is to go tell that other person. And the
I
fact that he
totally agree.
waited until all of this happened to actually have the conversation. At that time, I'm looking at you sideways. I'm already looking at Marvin sideways because I
Yeah.
know, because Tamara did what he should have done. As soon as it happened, she was like, let me have a girls chat. Let me tell them what's going on.
Yes. Yes.
And she didn't know the situation. So that same day is when he talked to Tom, and Tom didn't bring it up until after his feet were in the fire.
Yes. Exactly. And he was trying to take some heat off of himself.
Mm-hmm.
So Nikki says that's where I think Raven should have been playing with her head and not her heart, and asking herself, why is Tom messaging me? What do you think of that, Danny?
Yeah, and I agree because that was the whole situation where I was like, okay, what are you guys doing? I get that Marvin is like a known liar, but you have suspicions on other people. I would have brought up the situation where Tom told me, and I wouldn't have looked at that as a dig to Marvin. I would have said, why is he telling me this now? What is he trying to do? How is he furthering his game?
I agree, especially because it's not like Tom and Raven had some previous relationship with each other.
Exactly.
So
Now, if it was Chaz,
yes,
I
yeah,
would have been fine with it.
yes, because if I'm Raven, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I mean, even though I don't like the information that's being presented, what is Tom's angle here? Because me
Mm-hmm.
and Tom aren't cool or close like that, and it's not like he told me right away. So what's the reason behind him telling me this? Raven was in her feelings a little bit.
Too much. Yeah. I mean, that whole situation, they were in their feelings and everything was a knee jerk reaction. And so
Mhm.
when Chaz was talking, when they were about to do the blocking, and he was like, I know if it's this, then this is the reason why. And I'm like, you guys had such bigger targets. Like, why are you fixating? You know what Marvin's issue is.
Mhm, mhm.
We already know that. We can play that against him. We
That's
don't
what I
need to
was. That's
block
what,
him at this moment.
Danny. You are reading my mind with all these takes, because I'm saying to myself, you can use that next week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's somebody who's suddenly going to be high up on everybody's list. He already shot himself in the foot. So I think that you take out the bigger target and save him for later.
Right. I would have went for a newbie because one of the newbies was the hacker. They already had established that, and after Sam had the conversation with
Sam,
Chaz.
yeah, Sam and are you talking about Sam and Raven's conversation?
Well, before then, when she figured out it was Jennifer,
Mm-hmm.
at that point when she was talking to Raven,
Mm-hmm.
she should have just said, look, we have it's either Jennifer or Tom. They're both newbies. I get that, they've been in here a little longer, but they didn't tell us about the revolution. One of them is the hacker. We need to eliminate one of them because they're close. Like that would have been my gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer would have been gone. If I was Sam, there would be no way we would block anyone other than Jennifer.
I was so hoping Sam was gonna do that. I felt like when Sam chose to get rid of Marvin and just listening to her talk out her logic, it was like I'm helping out my girl on behalf of the girls who have been played by guys like this before, rather than this is my best move for the circle.
Right. And I lost a little bit of respect there because and Sam is my girl. Like I want her to win.
Yeah,
Um
I
but
love
at the
Sam.
same time I was like, girl, you went in there with an agenda and you let Raven's hurt feelings dictate what you guys were going to do. This is your first time at the table. Own it. And she didn't own it and I was so sad cuz I'm like, look, you got someone who pretended to be somebody else who is lying to your face. You're catching the lies because she should have had that conversation after they had the three-way conversation with Jennifer, Chaz, and her. She should have went immediately and had a private conversation with Chaz and started dissecting what they said. Cause that whole ooh, we said it in a group setting, during this time, and she said it right away.
Yeah,
She was like, they didn't even know that that was our nickname then.
and I didn't like how quickly and easily Chaz seemed to be believing this stuff. Cause I was
Yeah,
like, I thought Chaz was more into it than that.
yeah, I was shocked that he was like, oh, and he immediately turned to Tom when they said Tom,
Yeah,
and I'm like, how are they leading you this easily? Like, even Sam is like, wait a minute, we had that conversation on this day, but they had that conversation before this, so that can't be true. Which is why, if I was her, I would have had that conversation with Chaz afterwards. So once the three of them ended that chat, I would have went immediately into a post mortem chat with him and dissected everything Jennifer said and did a
Mhm.
timeline. Because
Yes,
then
I agree.
he would have been on board. He would have talked to Raven. He would have talked to Marvin, which maybe not, but he definitely would have had a conversation with Raven
For
ahead of the
sure.
blocking,
For
and
sure.
she should have done the same thing. Like, even before they found out who was influencers, I would have said, look, let me get the OGs together and have a conversation. And I would have started an OG group chat, and then we would have talked about the hacker. We would have talked about like everything Shub said, and we would have came up with a strategy. Because then it would have been old against new, and the new are already fractured, so
Mhm.
we already
Mhm.
know how to handle them. And we would have went for the snake, the head of the snake. We would have just went for it, and Jennifer would have been gone. Then we would have got rid of Tom. Then we would have got rid of Marvin, and like we would have had a whole hit list. But they
Yeah.
didn't do that. I was like, why are they playing so emotional?
Yes. Like there's no rhyme or reason to the decisions they make. It was not like strategic, it didn't seem to me. It was just based on what was happening in the moment.
Yeah, I was really upset about it because I was just like,
I
if
would be so pissed if Jennifer makes the final five.
I
Oh,
know, and I have a feeling that's gonna happen. Because if they didn't get rid of her at that moment, she has enough momentum with everyone else, other than Sam, because Sam is definitely looking at her sideways. But everybody else still has that auntie vibe from her. And I'm like, I'm reading the chats, what they show us, of course, because of editing. And I'm like, how are you not seeing that this person has two sides to them and they're
yes.
distinct?
Yes. Yes.
Because when Brett's talking, you can definitely tell it's coming from
Very
Brett,
different.
and I'm like, they don't always match up. And I'm like, you can't be the loving auntie vibe and then come on this side and say this. And I did like that Raven reached out and was like, hey, let me suss this out. Let me see what's going on. And they weren't answering the questions. So she was kind of like, yeah, I'm good. Same with
Mhm.
Tamara. Like, she just don't want no parts. Sasha wants no parts. No parts. you know
Sasha. What did you think of Sasha giving them the power of the
yeah,
hacker?
I get why Shub went there, because that was the only person who had Shub's back. But at
Mhm.
the same time, like, as soon as he walked in and he saw Brett, and he
Mhm.
knew who Brett was, he was the only one who knew who Brett was.
Oh
I was,
yeah, he was like, Brad, big brother.
yeah,
Wow.
you know, I felt some kind of way at that point, because I'm like, why are we rewarding him for bad behavior?
That's true.
Because he wasn't a good player in Big Brother. He wasn't likable. He's still not likable.
He's not likable on this either. Yeah.
No, he hasn't grown up. Like, there's been years since he's been on Big Brother, and you think he would have matured. He would have took that chip off his shoulder, like all these things. And no, he is the same person. He's just older.
Nikki, can you tell me what question you're talking about when you said ask Sam this when you interview her? What was the other thing that I was gonna say? Yeah, so Tom, what do you think about Tom choosing not to throw Jennifer under the bus
That was the
and saying
dumbest
like,
move he ever made.
I agree. No, I agree. I
I'm
want to hear
like,
your
you
reasoning.
just had the conversation with Chaz that from now on it's gonna be honesty is the best policy. You're gonna be upfront. You're not gonna do this again. So as soon as you found out for sure that was the hacker, I'd have ran and told Chaz, because it would have confirmed it in his mind, because he already had the suspicion. And then
Hmm.
he would have went to Sam and say, I know 100% that it was Jennifer, not Tom. and then she would have rated him higher. Like all
Yes.
these things would have happened,
He'd
but
still be in the house.
he would, because they would have exposed him to everybody. Let's be real. They would have
Yes.
told. So Raven would have known. Like everybody would have redone their rating rankings, and the problem is he still kept them as his number one. He honored the deal that they had. Brett
Hmm.
will never honor any deal you ever make
No.
with him if it doesn't further his game.
And you know what I noticed is that in the last episode in particular, maybe the last two, but I noticed it mostly in the last one, they were disagreeing a lot
Mm-hmm.
on what they were going to decide. Like, for instance, telling Tom that they rated him last after he got eliminated.
Yeah,
And
Xanthi
he
felt
was,
really guilty, and Brett was
yes.
like, "I had none of those feelings. It's a date."
Yeah, he said, I'm going to be honest with you. It didn't even cross my mind to tell him that we voted him last. Like, it wasn't even a possibility in my mind to tell him that. I don't
And she
care,
didn't want to
basically.
do it. She
She
didn't
didn't want to
even
do
want to
it.
do it in the first place, because she's a more honorable person. It's not her fault she's playing with Brett.
She got screwed
She
in
got
that
stuck with
regard.
him. And I would not be surprised that after all this is over, if they don't have a hookup, I would be shocked.
I kind of think to myself, I'm like, are the cameras not showing us everything? Because I don't know.
Like even when they were playing the dart game, and the
Mhm.
host was like, she was like, they're standing mighty close to each other. And it's like they show little tidbits like her sitting on his back while he's doing his push-ups and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I think something's going on there. They're just not telling us.
So I want to ask you, if you're in their position, if you're in the position of Jennifer, you get the hacker power. What do you think of the decision they made to hack Chaz and talk to Sam? Would you have done that, or would you have picked somebody else?
I'd have picked somebody else.
Me too.
Yeah, because see, Sam and Chaz are too
Too
close.
close. That's what I'm saying. Their bond is too close.
And one of them's gonna bring it up. So like you knew Sam was gonna say something, and she'd have been like, "Yeah, when we talked earlier," and he'd have been like, "What? No, we didn't talk." you know,
Exactly.
if I was him, if I was them, I would have picked Raven.
That's the exact person that I was saying. I was like, I would have picked Raven. And I might have spoken to someone she's less close to. I wouldn't have picked Chaz. I would have
No,
picked
I
I
would
would
have
have
done Raven, and I would have talked to who's the new girl? What's her
new
character's name?
girl
The
who
one who's catfishing.
is slipping my mind.
But I
Somebody
would
who
have been Raven talking to her.
okay.
Because everyone knows, what the Marvin situation is. So I would have been doing like Raven going, I know we had this whole Marvin situation, but what do you think about some of the other players? Because I'm feeling a little some kind of way about, and then I would have brought myself up. So I would
Oh,
have
you're
brought
talking about
Jennifer up
Tamara?
as Raven. Yeah, Tamara. So I would have talked to Tamara as Raven about Jennifer to see what she really feels about Jennifer and if we
Mhm.
should be targeting her or not. Because who would ever think I would talk about myself?
Yeah, yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. Because I was thinking to myself, Chaz, well, I understood the logic a little bit. The part about when they first were saying, well, Chaz is the most trusted in the game, so people will believe what he said. But I'm like, that's in the short term. They will believe what he said, but then they're going to have questions.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to get the guy, like, piss off the guy who is running the game, basically.
Exactly.
So I was like, Brett, that was, no bueno for that.
Yeah. Well, this is why he didn't win Big Brother. He always, he was he was fighting against his weight class. It's like, come on, you got to bring it down a little. Which is why Raven would have been. She's the second person who has the most influencers. So I would have went with her. because she already has some beef in the house with a couple people, and they still trust her. And if she was talking about the person who is the hacker, that would work,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to go back to Jennifer and say, "Oh, I had a conversation with Raven and da 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 da." If you do, then you really know how they feel about Raven, and you can piggyback on that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like he didn't think it far enough. Because if he did, even if he put Chaz, like, it would have been Chaz talking to Tom or Marvin, because we know Marvin's slow, so we could talk to him. Um, and actually mess his game up. Like, they could
Yeah.
have just gunned for him. But because they had already had an issue with someone and they wanted that person out, that's what
They
messed them
chose
up.
the petty route. This is
They
what I was
did.
trying to say. I'm like, Tamira is not a big fish in the game. So, like, impersonating Chaz to gun for Tamira is
That
like,
was
okay, you
stupid.
get Tamira out. Now what?
Exactly. Because it's not like you want somebody to be knocked down who is trustworthy. You want
Yes.
somebody, you know, and to do that, I was just like, that was a wasted opportunity.
A waste. A waste. It's like we don't like Tamira. So
And it backfired.
let's just
That's
go
why it
after her to be
backfired.
petty. I was like, when they opened up that group chat, when they first had that conversation, Chaz and Sam, and she was like, the
Mm-hmm.
only person I spoke to was this person and you. And he was like, wait a minute, I didn't speak to you. And then they kind of put those pieces together and opened up the group chat with Jennifer. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, they're gonna lay into her. And
They didn't.
Chaz kind of went off the trail too quickly.
Yeah.
Sam, though, Sam, I always feel is like a hair away from figuring things out.
Well, and she did. She knew 100% that it was them. And every time they threw Tom out there, she's like, "Yeah, but I still think it's them." Because even if she told Tom that and said, "Oh, he calls her wifey, blah blah blah," and when she said, "No, wait," and I had to go back and watch it again, because she was like, when they said that, she was like, "No, that conversation happened after our conversation,
I
or
have to.
before our conversation." So if she was talking to them during the conversation she's saying, they
Mhm,
wouldn't have known at that time that he called me wifey, because we only
mhm.
had one conversation where that came up, and that happened after all of this. So when she said that, she was like, "No, it's them." And she kept, like, even on Love Day, she was still throwing that little bit of shade towards them. Um, and nobody was picking it up, and I'm like,
Mhm.
even Chaz wasn't picking it up. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is your wifey. You should know.
Yes, yes,
And when they had their
exactly.
date, I'm like, look, it's all fun and games. We can talk about guys, we can talk about bad dates, but at the end of the day, we still need to talk about business before we leave here. So
So
we are on the same page.
that's so true on the date. Yeah, that was pretty fun. What did you think of Chaz apologizing to Tom and Jen in a group chat?
That was stupid.
I didn't
I'm
understand it.
sorry. I was like, you did nothing wrong. Why are you apologizing?
Yeah.
I'm like, one of them is the hacker.
Yes.
So they need to apologize to you. And the way Tom approached you would make me think Tom probably isn't the hacker, because
Yeah.
he owned up to the stuff he did do. And I had a feeling at that moment, if he was the hacker, he'd have owned up to it just to save face.
Yes.
But Jennifer never owned up to anything and deflected, deflected, deflected. When people
Deflected. Yeah.
deflect, they're lying.
Yes. I don't understand how Jennifer has made it this far because Jennifer has never been believable to me
No,
at any point.
but people love her. And I'm like, they're like, Auntie. First of all, you're not my auntie. You don't give me auntie vibes. You've assigned yourself as that position. That don't mean I have to pick it up. Like, no, I'm not picking up what you're putting down, because you're not acting like an auntie. You're messy. I'm like, no. But
Tom,
nobody gets it.
nobody gets it. And when Tom met her, he was like, "Oh my God, I thought you were a 50-year-old woman. I don't understand." And I'm like, I never thought that this was somebody who is real.
No, not at
She
all.
doesn't really reveal anything personal about herself. She's kind of just like, love, I love all of you, my nieces and nephews. Like, she's just on some fake stuff. Sam
Yeah,
started calling it out, and I find that
yeah.
hilarious.
Well, and she does every chance she gets. She just throws low key shade, and I'm like here for it because that would be me in the house. I'm like, yeah, I don't trust you. I'm just gonna put little nuggets here and there every chance I get. Well, I'm still being lovable and being myself, but yeah, I'm gonna call you out every chance I get. Anytime we have anonymous stuff, I'm coming for you. And I'm like, why are these things not happening? And even when they were doing some of the anonymous things, like
Hmm.
some of those questions, you can always tell when there's somebody who is good at trolling.
Yeah.
And then you start having conversations with people. You always know those people. Jen is
Yes.
good at trolling because that's Brett. Brett is a troll.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Whereas Xanthi is peace and love. And maybe
Yes.
that's why, because when she's talking, she's actually trying to be authentic.
Yes.
And then Brett talks and you're like, oh, well, there went that.
Like I said, the last two episodes, you could tell that Brett is wearing on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like each one of their decisions is, I bet you if we could see extended footage of those conversations, they were pretty tense.
But he always gets his way
Always gets his way. I've noticed that.
because she backs down. Because she's not a person who really enjoys conflict. And you put her in,
Is she from another show?
no, it's just,
Oh, okay.
you could tell just
From
based on her
here.
personality.
Yeah.
And Brett, he lives for conflict. He stirs conflict.
Right.
He sprinkles conflict on his cornflakes every morning. That is him. And it's just like you can tell, like even it's weighing on her, the
Yeah.
decisions they're making, but they keep getting further in the game, so you kind of have to trust it at that point. You're
So
too far into it.
it's like you're right. They are too far into it, and you have to trust it. But they haven't played a game that's going to make them win. So
No.
even making the final five, they're probably going to be number five. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Or
I
four.
agree.
Like at most, they might jump up a spot, but there's no way they're even close to getting number one.
No. And I'm hoping to the circle gods that this next go round, they are at the bottom. Like they just have
Who
to
do
be
you
at the
think
bottom.
Chaz is going to choose? Chaz is the super influencer, and he chooses the one who gets blocked, right?
Yeah, and nobody know. And based on what they
The secret
showed in
super
the
influencer.
trailer, I'm like, oh, spoiler alert! If you haven't got to this point, I
Mm-hmm.
honestly think he's gonna do something that's gonna further his game, but hurt the group as a whole.
I wondered when he made his comment where he was like, do I want to take out the biggest threat to my game? And the
Mm-hmm.
first person that I thought of was
Raven,
Raven.
yeah, it.
So I don't, but then I said
I'm
to
scared
myself,
for her.
I said to myself, that wouldn't be a Chaz move, but you never know what can happen when it comes to this is the last decision that he's gonna make.
And it's anonymous.
And it's anonymous, exactly. So
That's the part that hurts, because it's like, oh, I'm
exactly.
worried. I'm worried
Yes,
for
because
her.
I didn't even remember that, but you made a good point by saying that because being anonymous changes things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they know it's Chaz taking out Raven, they're like, maybe I had Chaz in the top spot, but then he took out somebody we all like and we think is real.
Mm-hmm.
So that might knock him down a couple notches. But if they don't know, but on the other hand, Danny, Chaz has been the influencer first or second, except for one time. He's been all the other times.
Yep.
So it's probably going to be an assumption that it's either him or Raven making that decision. And if he takes out Raven, I
Well,
mean,
it depends on what they say, like how they announce it to the group. Because remember, they said it's anonymous. And they could just say the second lowest player got eliminated. They don't have to say that it was a super secret influencer. So it would
that's
be
true.
how they reveal it. And they don't tell him ahead of time. They just tell him it's going to be anonymous.
That's true.
So, For all they know, they could say, hey, it was somebody, the last player eliminated got to pick the person. Because if they did that, you would think it was Jen who did it.
And this season, you could say the Big Brother slogan, expect the unexpected.
Yeah, because they
Because
went
they've been
savage.
doing a lot.
They've been doing a lot from like episode 1. Like
Yeah.
this was not I'm gonna get to know everybody before we start playing those cutthroat games. Not this season.
No, the other seasons had more kumbaya at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
where there were people that were like, I don't really want to make waves. I don't want to let anyone know who I like and who I don't like. This season was like off rip.
You gotta
We're
pick.
we're gonna
Like
show
day
your
2, you
picks to
gotta pick.
everybody.
Yes.
We're gonna show who you want out immediately.
It's like, oh, you starting conflict from jump. I was like, oh, this is gonna fracture the house before it even, before they even get a chance to know each other.
Yeah.
But I liked it because then it was like you really had to put your trust in somebody, and you don't know if that was the person who was talking about you.
I don't know if it's weird this season because it's like these people seem to form bonds real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are bonded. And I'm like, how did you? I mean, it seems like most of them made good choices, but it's like, how did you bond like that so quickly based on 1 or 2 conversations?
Yeah, it's just like with Oliver and Tamara when they were having their
Thank you.
conversation. I'm like, you opened, like they both really opened up, and normally that would take like 2 or 3 conversations, not just that, hey, I just wanted to check on you. Okay, now I'm just gonna spill my guts. It's like you don't do that in real life. Why would you
No.
do that in this hyper situation where like you have no distractions? So you really are focused on what's on that screen. And I get that, but they haven't been gone long enough,
Right.
especially the newbies. They haven't been gone long enough to miss their family and to like need that connection and that bond.
Yes.
So I'm just like, why would you do that? You know?
I meant to say, I feel like Oliver is positioning himself pretty well for being the newest player.
He is.
Like he's not in any drama. He flirted with Chaz, which seemed to be somewhat strategically, even though he said he's attracted to him. He still said this is the guy that is usually number 1. So I want him to have power. I want to be on his good side.
And he would have been, because remember he was on Raven's good side and she did the intro. The problem is when they had the conversation with Jennifer Chaz. Because now he's looking at Oliver because Jennifer first pointed to Tom, then pointed to Oliver.
Yeah.
During that conversation. So now he's like Chaz is distancing himself from Oliver. And Oliver has no idea that this is even happening to fix it.
Right. That's so true. Yeah, Oliver's in his own world.
Because he just thinks
comments.
He's good, he's there, he's happy. And it's like, you need to play the game and find out where your position is. Like you really need to.
It's like he got himself in a pretty good position, but now it doesn't seem like he's using any strategy. He's just like happy to be there.
Right. And it's like, okay, you're at the end game. You gotta play strategically. You gotta see where you're positioned with everybody.
Like
1 or 2 you might get wrong, but you gotta have everybody on lock at that point.
This is what I'm trying to say. Flirting with Chaz and then talking to Tamara. Tamara is never voted up one of the top players.
Right, but she will put him in the number 1 slot. So if she does that, it helps move him up. It's like the opposite of what Jennifer did. Where she put Tom at the bottom.
Yeah,
and he was kind of in the low middle. But doing that and him not having at least 1 to help that average is what sent him home.
It can help for a middle player.
Yeah.
We saw it did nothing for Chaz. When Tamara put Chaz in last, saying, "Oh, that'll better my position."
It won't, because he has too many number 1s. It's like it's only going to drop him down a point. And that's the thing. It's like it's averages, so you have to know where you're positioned with everybody, because nobody is going to get all number 1s.
Yes.
But if you get 2 or 3, and then you get 1 or 2 at the bottom, that'll at least put you in the middle. But if you only get 1
Yes.
at the bottom and you have 3 at the top, you're going to be in those top positions. It's a numbers game, and they don't think that way,
They
you know,
don't
because
think that way. You can tell.
yeah, you know, it's like not one. The only person in all the seasons who really was doing the math was Shub, and he just
Yeah, I
overshot
remember that.
this time around. I mean, I miss his murder board, like where he had like all the lines and he knew what was going on. I was like,
This
this
dude
is
is into
somebody,
this.
and he tracked every conversation he had.
It was like that's why it was so weird watching him navigate this Sasha profile
Yeah.
because it felt like a fish out of water. It's like watching a whole different player.
Well, and he didn't know how to be somebody else. You know,
Yeah,
he went in the first time as himself. He didn't have time to study this profile. He
yeah.
got it when he got there, and it was like, okay, now go. And for him, that was very difficult because he doesn't understand the art of catfishing.
No, no.
You have to have enough of yourself in there, but it has to be believable.
Yes.
You know, if you're a
Yeah,
young
yeah.
girl, you're not going to use older language. But if you say this young girl also, like, even if they said, you know, she was a fine arts major, you can throw in extras like, but I minored in this other thing that is you, so that then you can, you know, influence the conversation and be authentic. That's what Tamara
Exactly.
is doing really well, is even though she has a catfish persona, she is still being herself.
Exactly. It's like I'm a different look in my pictures, but I'm still using who I am.
Mm-hmm. That is the way to go. Because if you
Yeah.
try to do a gender switch, you're gonna get tripped up. It happens every season unless you have studied, and
You
we
but
do know a couple who studied.
my my favorite of all the people who played a different gender was why did I forget his name? The guy who played Rebecca, Seaburn.
Oh,
Seaburn
oh,
from season 1.
yeah. But you know, he got exposed a couple times, like when they had the whole
The
period
period.
conversation, and he was like, "Yeah, my
I
up,"
don't
and
I
every
don't know
female
how
was
he
like,
got out of that.
"That is not true." Like, what kind of period are you? 'Cause it's like, bruh, no. And but they let it go. And that's the thing, is like, if I'm in that situation, I am listening to what people are telling me and I'm remembering it because I'm gonna replay it in my head. It's the Virgo in me. I'm gonna do that, you know, because I'm gonna overanalyze everything at that point because I'm just there with my thoughts, which isn't a good place. So every conversation I would have like a list, who I talked to when, about what.
Yes,
And
yes.
I would have caught that. Like I would have clocked that right away and been like, that's not a woman.
And
And
I
then when they did the makeup challenge, I was like, oh, now I definitely know that's not a woman.
and I think it's so interesting because on Big Brother they don't let you use pen and paper, so it's an advantage to be able to do that.
Hmm.
Like
And
an advantage that you're allowed to use.
nobody takes, like, not many people take note of that. You know, the fact
Yes,
that Chaz said he had it on, you know, he pulled out his little book and was like, I didn't talk to you this week. I have it written down.
I was like,
I
you
was
go,
shocked.
Chaz.
So if that was the case with Chaz, I'm like, well, then how did you not know that you didn't say wifey until after the conversation? They're saying they said it in,
See, that's strange. Yeah,
you know, because
that part was odd to me.
yeah, Sam picked it up right away and he glossed over it. And to me, when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is the period conversation all over again. Something is
I gotta tell you
glaring
something,
and you don't
Danny.
say anything. Hmm?
New Yorkers don't trust anybody. So that's why when I saw Sam, I was like, Sam is automatically got instincts.
Yes.
I was like, it's not even for her, it's not even about what she's writing down. It's like, this just doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So with Chaz, when the hacker impersonated Chaz, you could already see that she was questioning it. But she was just like, I've been rocking with Chaz this whole time.
Yeah,
I
and she
put my
was
trust
going
in him
back and forth.
already.
And
Yeah.
she was like, you need to swear to me. You
Yeah.
need to swear to, and he was like, I'm telling you, I didn't. And
Yeah.
then he was like, now tell me everything they said.
Right.
And that was another thing Tom did that, and he didn't even know he was doing it when he brought up what Jennifer said about Tamara.
Mm. Oh
It's
yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
because in Chaz's mind, we just talked about Tamara when it was the hacker. So he's now bringing up that Jennifer said it, but how do I know it wasn't him? It's like,
Exactly.
but again, Chaz doesn't ask the questions. Like at that point, I would have been like, stop, hold on. When I was
Yeah.
hacked,
Yeah. 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 Chaz
this
stops
is
too
what
soon. That's
happened.
right.
So if you're telling me they told you this and I'm already suspecting this person, I need you to do this for me. I know that's your person, but
Mhm.
look, I will burn you with the group if you don't go and find out for sure if that person is the hacker and report back to me.
Yeah.
He could have used his influence to control Tom, and Tom
Yes.
would still be in the game and Jennifer would be out.
Yes.
Because we
That's
would have started a group meeting with everybody in the house but Jennifer and said, look, Jennifer is the hacker. We would start having that whole, I'm going to bring everybody together. And then once we start saying what Jennifer has told us, we're going to find every single lie in the situation. And then we're all going to look at Jennifer, and Jennifer's going to be last for all of us. We got
yes.
to have an easy week here, people.
Good evening, Latasha. Yes, I agree.
But
Listen, you have me convinced that you would win this show. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I mean,
I'm a,
it's just how I think. And,
yeah.
I was talking with Dolly about this the other day, and I'm like, one of my trauma responses is that I listen to what people say, I analyze it so that I'm always positioned so I'm not in a conflict, you
Mhm.
know, and it's kind of moving the pieces in order to protect myself. And so, like, games like this, they
Mhm.
make sense to me because I'm like, yeah, you're not asking the right questions. You're not knowing when to use this. And I'm like, it's driving me nuts because I'm watching it and I'm like, there's so many lost opportunities there. But
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
know for myself that it's a trauma response that would make me good at the game. But, maybe not the game of real life all the time. But, in these situations, it makes sense to me. It's like, I would be the one taking the notes. I would be questioning what everyone says to me because until you prove you're not a catfish, you're a catfish in my eyes.
Mhm.
And but I would be able to have those conversations where I open up and I talk to people. So I would be that likable character where people would go to me and be the person because it happens in real life. It's like everyone comes to me to tell me their problems and what's going on, and I give them advice. But at the same time, that is getting cataloged in my head. So then if I'm talking to somebody else who you're talking to and the stories don't line up, then I'm looking at both of you, and
so
that's just, yeah.
so would you come on there and try to formulate like a number one?
No, I would just
You would
come and
just be
be in
you.
myself,
Yeah.
and let it happen organically because when people try, that's when they fail. But when they're just being themselves, because Chaz is just being himself, Raven's just being herself.
Yes.
So they're naturally likable people. So they're going to be the number one because they open up enough that people trust them.
Guess who got
But
power? Oh, you want to hop on?
Dolly, yes, I'm so happy you have power.
Hold on a minute. I'll repost this link again. Yeah, you're right though about people who try too hard, and I wouldn't like the people who are just like, oh, we're in a showman, so oh, you're my new circle bestie, and it's like one episode in.
Yeah, that
I
that
don't like
annoys
people who
me.
are like that in real life. I'm like, get out of my face. We just met.
Exactly. It's like it can't be peace and love all the time.
No.
Because when people start saying, I love you, right at the beginning, I'm already looking at you sideways because it's disingenuous. And then when they say it in conversations where it's not necessary,
Yes.
and I'm like, why do you keep trying to reinforce this? What's going on with you?
Right.
And I find that happens. And you develop bonds with people and you come to care for them and it becomes your chosen family.
Right,
But
of course.
if you force that bond, it'll never be strong and it'll break very easily. And that's why I'm always, when I look at that, I'm like, how did you get in a showman from a picture? Like really a picture and a half a conversation.
And
And now
right.
you're like, that's my queen. I love her. And then as soon as the new girl comes in, that's my queen. I love her. It's
Once I
like,
heard all that, I knew Marvin wasn't anywhere close to being someone who was gonna win.
yeah. Well,
I
I,
thought it
I
was
kind of knew that from the beginning.
I thought it was a possibility that he could have made the final table if he played his cards right. But midway through, I'm like, nah, he does not have what it takes.
No, he did. And he didn't try to foster a lot of relationships. And the ones he did, he forced. Like the one with Tom, he thought he was way closer to Tom than he actually was. And
Yes.
I think part of that was because in his mind, everybody loves him.
Yes.
And he's not looking at the reality of his conversations, which is why he thought he could get away with being in a situation with 6, 7 people and you're talking to 2 of them. I'm like, in a room of 30, if you do that, you're going to get caught. How did you think this
Exactly.
was going to work out?
I bet you get. I thought it was funny too when he chose to meet Raven, which was obvious that he was going to choose to meet Raven.
Mm-hmm.
And I already knew that both Raven and Paris were going to have a reaction to seeing him after he leaves. I
Right.
knew it.
Okay, but can we just say when Paris was fanning her,
That
I
was hilarious.
lost
And you
my
know what?
mind.
That
Because
was
she's fanning
hilarious.
her face, but that wasn't what Paris was fanning. I was
I
like, they
noticed.
such a mess.
What was I gonna say? Raven was like, I've been playing this game on my own. But you know what? Yes, she has in terms of she picks what she says, but no, she hasn't, because he's been actually giving her opinions
Mm-hmm.
on the people.
Yes.
So I feel like he's part of the game.
Yes, he is. Because how can you not be?
Yes.
You know, it's not as, and you can tell that they're like more friends
In
than
real,
that's
yeah.
her
It's not
interpreter,
like just somebody who's interpreting.
Yeah. And even the looks on his face when he's signing to her kind of tells you what he's thinking.
Definitely. Facial expressions, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Yeah, I like it. I like both of them. I like that dynamic.
I do. And the other day when they were both twerking, I loved it.
Cracking up. And then he has the blue wig and everything too.
Yes.
He is a part of the show.
Yeah. See, that's what Brett and Xanthi should have been.
They're just, we don't get that fun dynamic from them really.
No, even when they're playing with each other, it's not, I don't know. It seems like it's forced.
It does.
Then there are some times like when they were doing the dart thing, you could tell that there was something there. Like there was a little spark
I
there.
think all that is just sexual tension.
It is. And it's Brett. So we know
And
how
it's Brett.
he is already. Yeah, I really just want one thing to happen, like on finale, like Rockstar just pop out and say, not on my daughter's birthday, and then leave. Like that's all I need, and I would be happy.
Oh, what did you think of the fashion competition?
So I kind of differed in opinions with some of them. I
Okay.
think all of them were a hot mess. Actually, Brett and Xanthi's was probably the best.
Who? I
But
missed that.
yeah, because they just had like a pencil skirt and then like just a little top. It was, they put some little rhinestones on the skirt, but it was pretty tame. Chaz's was interesting because it almost gave me a pirate vibe at one point.
Yeah.
And Ravens, I didn't see what he was saying in Ravens. And then I did like Oliver's actually.
I thought that suited his personality perfectly.
It did, and it wasn't over the top. It was
Yes.
really
I was
toned down.
surprised. Yeah, like the black colors, and I
Yeah, with
thought
the
it was going
black
to be
tie and the
extravagant
skirt.
feathers and all kinds of stuff on it.
Yeah, I was concerned until they showed it, and I said, "Oh no, that's cute. I could see that."
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what Tom was trying to accomplish.
I don't
I
know
was with
either.
him on the maybe you should have took 2, 3, maybe 4 things off. Yeah, I was just like, okay, so you
He was
kind of
like, I
go with
commend you for
Chaz's
trying.
pirate, you know. I'm like, look, that's a pirate over here. You're a red coat. Okay, we can see these. But I was just like, everybody else was just
I
okay.
like how he basically complimented everyone but that one. Like
Well,
you
that
get an
one and
A for effort.
Tamara's. Tamara's,
Oh
he was
yeah,
like,
that's
yeah,
right.
no.
Yes,
Mm-mm.
Tamira's. I forgot.
Yeah, that one, he did not like that one at all.
No,
But everybody else was okay, in his eyes. It was like, okay, you guys tried and it was okay. It was good. But these two, yeah,
Nikki didn't
no.
like Chaz's outfit either.
Yeah, it kept giving me that whole pirate vibe. But it was white, and then with the green, I was like, what do you do? Like, I didn't understand it. I think if I understood it more and like where he was going with it, I might have liked it better, but I just, yeah, no.
So I want to say something about Chaz and his date with Sam. I did like the fact that I know that it gets stressful on the games, of course, and you want to de-stress and talk about personal stuff and all that. And I thought the stories they exchanged were funny,
Hmm.
but I still feel like I'd be thinking more about gameplay in that moment.
That's what I said earlier. I'm
You
like,
did.
look, we can have the whole kiki about our relationships, bad dates and all this, but at the end of the date, we need to get back to business because it's going to be
Yes,
an opportunity that we can talk and nobody's going to know that we talked. And we need to
exactly.
get on the same page because some stuff has gone down in the last couple days that we're going to need to unpack before we do rankings. And that
Yes,
was the part I was just like, oh my God, that was such a wasted opportunity for them to get on the same page about Jennifer.
I agree completely about that. Like they just because that's what I was excited about when he chose Sam. Because at first I was saying to myself, I was thinking about it like how on Big Brother they get to choose somebody to watch the movie with them.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like, okay, he's not gonna pick Sam because maybe he'll pick somebody else that he can get to know. But then when he picked Sam, I was like, oh, maybe Chaz is thinking I can talk to her and get to the bottom of this Jennifer Tom situation.
Exactly. That's what I thought when he picked her. Because if not, I mean, if you're just going to have a date, why not pick Oliver?
That's what I'm trying to exactly.
I
Good
mean, because
point.
that would have actually been a date. I mean, and
Good point. That's a good point.
your fiance
Yep.
already said it's not cheating. So, because it's not like you guys are ever going to be together in the same room until
Right.
finale night. So I'm like, you could have used that. I'm like, come on. Because then that would have got another person in his corner or even bring in Tom,
Yeah.
so that you guys could have the conversation.
Yeah. Like.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't think that that was the right time not to have that conversation.
You're right, and especially because they're people who talk. They're talking anyways. They
Right.
talk about personal things with each other anyways. So it's like this is a big moment in the game for you to crack whatever has gone on with this hacker situation, and they just kind of, well, let's just eat and exchange stories.
Exactly.
So
Because
there.
that would have been my whole thing. I would have used it because normally when they're doing the chats, it's very short, it looks like they have
Mhm.
a time limit on how long they can talk to one
It
another.
seems so, yeah.
Whereas if you're on a date, you guys can talk as long as you want.
You're under the radar. Exactly.
Hmm.
You can have like an
I,
under the radar conversation.
I would have used it as a ranking conversation, like we were both influencers, and we would have went, okay, now how do you think about this person? What do you think about that person? You know,
Right. Because nobody generally says, oh, what did you guys talk about on the date? Unless
exactly.
it was like a situation, obviously, where it was, those like flirting
Now,
things,
if he had taken Oliver, Raven
then they would
probably
be
would have said,
asking.
"What did you
Yeah.
talk about on the date?" You know.
But if it's already a known thing that you guys are close in the house and it's platonic, then nobody's going to be really questioning you too much about what happened on the date, which it didn't seem like anyone did.
Exactly. And that's why I would have used that opportunity to talk business. It's like, look, let's go down the list. Where do you feel how you're doing with your rankings versus, this, that, and the other? I totally would have done that.
Hmm.
But again, It's the way my brain thinks.
I would have done that too. I mean, mine doesn't go as much as yours, but definitely in that situation, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, good gameplay, Chaz. And then I was like, I don't know if Chaz really has good gameplay or they just like him as a person.
They just like him as a person.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling.
But same with Raven.
Her
Neither
too.
one of them have quote unquote good gameplay.
Right.
And they're just being authentically themselves, which I totally understand and I respect that because that's how you get people to like you. You know, because if
That's
you're
how the guy,
always
I forgot his
playing
name, but the
games,
one who won the last season, that his parents passed away and all that
oh
stuff.
yeah, you know, and
Yeah.
he was just always trying to put sunshine and light on situations and being
He was such
positive.
a positive person for all the different stuff he went through in life.
Mm-hmm. And I was so happy when he won. Like that actually got me in my feelings because I was like, people had come in there playing hard and tried to tear him down. Like when they did the
They did.
painting of each other and what they
Yes,
did with him, I was like, oh my gosh.
I
You
remember
know,
that.
I was offended for him because I'm like, that's not him. You know, you guys are trying to say that that's, you're trying to put doubt, but people see through that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like people think that they can knock down somebody who's popular by doing stuff like that. And usually they just look at the person who did it and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, that person is just hating or throwing shade.
Yep.
It doesn't usually take the popular influencer down when they do that.
Exactly. And I think that is one of the good things about the circle. Like the person who wins normally is a really good person.
Yes.
We haven't had a situation like even if they're being a catfish, they're still being genuine. Um, Not like Big Brother because sometimes
Oh
there
God,
are
you
a
got
few Brother winners that I still don't understand. Like Nicole Franzel, I will never understand how she won anything other than a bitter jury. Um,
right.
but it's like I would love to see those players in a situation like the circle
Mm-hmm.
because think about how fast Brett actually got taken out. It was the first double elimination, and he was
Exactly.
gone
I was
because
cracking up.
I was like, because it's your personality.
Yeah.
So they needed to temper his personality, and Xanthi actually does that. She can
Yeah.
be, she's nice, and he's not. So
That's
it
why
kind of makes
yeah, you're
them
right. That's why he's been able to survive as Jen.
right
The
because
parts
she's
that
doing
she's
most of the
talking.
talking. He does the strategy in the background. She does most of the talking.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always tell, like I said, you can always hone in when it's him talking because that niceness goes out the window.
Oh yeah, he jumps in when he feels it's time to be cutthroat, which is every time he talks.
Yeah, pretty much. But he lets her do all the lovey-dovey stuff to keep people
Yes.
liking her, but I'm just like, nobody is catching on to that. And that's the part I just don't understand. I'm like, in the same conversation, he has shown two different, she's shown two different sides to you. How are you not clocking that?
Right. So what did you think about Marvin coming to Chaz and having the conversation with Chaz and getting the advice on how to apologize to Raven? And what did you think of both of those apologies to Raven and to Tamara?
I I think in his mind, he thought they were good apologies. Chaz gave him good advice. He's like,
He
look, I don't know
did.
if this gonna work, but you still need to do it. And then hope for the best.
And I think what he
Um,
said is true about Raven too. When he was
mhm,
like, I don't think she's really gonna forgive him like that quickly, but she's gonna appreciate getting an apology like I did this wrong, and she's still gonna have a soft spot for him, but it might not help him in the game.
exactly. And he was honest with him about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, both of them seem like people who, if you break their trust, it's going to take a long time to build it back up again.
Yeah.
And I think that's with anybody, especially in this kind of a situation, because all
Yes.
you get is words. You can't see actions for the most part. So then when an action does not follow along with your words, it's even worse
Yeah.
because you can't make that up.
Nikki
And with
was,
him, oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say Nikki was mentioning remember the part where Marvin's picture came up or the video, whatever, and she was fawning over the picture, and
Oh,
Brett
and
was
Brett got
like,
low key jealous. Yeah. He was like, okay, that's enough. Uh, and that's when I was like, okay, so what I'm seeing with them might be true. Cause, Krista and I were talking about it, and I was like, I really think that there's something there. Um,
I agree.
I think, they're gonna hook up right after the show if they haven't in the house and we're just not seeing it. Um, but I think that's gonna happen. It's not gonna be something serious. It's not like they're gonna turn into um a circle couple or anything, but I do think that there is gonna be something there. And it'll be short. Because I just don't see Brett in a serious relationship with anybody other than himself. Just, and she is too nice for him. I think he thinks about himself before any other person. And in a relationship,
Yeah.
you need to think about that person as much as you think about yourself. And he's not there yet.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a hookup. I don't think it's going to be a full on relationship. If it is, it's short lived. I give it 2 months till the newness wears off.
Right.
But yeah, he was jealous because, and I'm like, look, you need to do a couple more of those sit ups if you want to be on the same page.
You don't got those abs, chest, and all that
I'm
stuff.
like, you're
Back.
starting to get a little bit of the dad bod.
Yeah. Yeah. You're looking a little too hard at that screen. She was just rubbing it in too.
Oh yes,
He
and
is
then she
good.
really
He is a
started to,
good looking man.
And she was like, well, then you need to do a couple more push. I'm like, well, she's not lying.
He seems like one of those guys that would automatically just be intimidated by another guy that was like an alpha male workout, gym head.
Yeah, I
Like
definitely
I
agree.
want to be the only one in the room that's like that.
But Brett's always been like that. He's self-centered and he doesn't want anyone else to steal the spotlight. He likes
Right.
being in the spotlight, which is funny that he's doing a catfish.
Yes, he probably hates having to share that space.
Mm-hmm. And he can't say what he wants to say all the time. And
Yes.
I'm sure there are moves he wants to make that they can't make. And the
And
fact that they're always low, oh, I know that hits him in his ego.
and you're so right, because I don't think he would even be in the game if it wasn't for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he just got the Gen profile by himself to run, he'd probably be out that week.
Yep. Because
Same
he
week
can't.
or the next week.
Yeah, I mean, he can't catfish.
No.
Because he doesn't know how to be anything other than him. And she does all the talking, which is why people it's semi-believable.
Yes.
I think
And
that was the best case scenario for them.
it was the best case scenario. So I think that I loved episodes 9 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to see what happens in the finale next week.
Yes.
So what is your prediction? Let's say top 3.
Top 3, if Chaz doesn't do something stupid and gets rid of Raven, I honestly think the top 3 are going to be him, Raven, Sam.
That's exactly the order that I would have it. And
Yep.
I would have it in, I don't know if you were saying in that order.
No,
but
I was from top to bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the exact order that I would have it in. Chaz, Raven, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish that Sam would win. I would be so excited.
Yeah, I want something to go down in the next couple episodes that pushes her to the top. Not to take anything away from Raven or Chaz, but I want them to see her the way we see her.
Yeah.
Because to me, she has been my number one, and she will always be my number one. Because her personality, I love it. I love that she's like, something ain't right, and she just clocks it and was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this over here. I'm gonna allow this to happen, but I'm gonna watch this over here. And the low key shade that she throws, I love it. Even on Love Day, she was throwing shade. I was like, I appreciate you.
So who is Raven's current number one? Chaz, right?
Yeah.
So Raven's number one is Chaz. Sam's number one is Chaz.
Oliver did have Chaz's number one until he didn't get the date.
Yeah.
So I think Raven is Oliver's number one, and Chaz is maybe his number two.
Uh-huh. Who
Yeah.
else do we have right now? Right as of right now, Jennifer is still there. Who else is there?
So Tamara, who has
Tamara.
Oliver, is
Tamara's
her
not
number
putting
one.
Chaz.
No, yeah, because Oliver is her number one, and I think no, Oliver put her as his number one too. So they are
So
together,
they basically wipe each other out because nobody else is picking them as number one.
right? And then
So,
Jennifer put Chaz in number one only to make sure that Tom was at the bottom.
but knowing that Brett is there, Chaz definitely wouldn't be number one if they make the final table, the final five.
Right.
I think that they might try to do like Sam. No, they wouldn't do Sam. They might try to do like Tamira or Oliver.
Yeah, to kind of push themselves up. Because
Yeah,
there's no way. I mean, and at some point you have to look at reality. You're not going to win. Like
they're all.
nobody likes you enough
Yeah,
to help you win.
I feel like they've said it. Everybody that's still there at this point, or everyone that was there from episode 9 and on, basically was like, "This is a three-headed monster that we have going on here."
Mm-hmm.
Chaz, Raven, and Sam, and they're all saying that. So I think that's the top three. If, like you said, pending on the decision that Chaz makes, I don't think he would ever cut Sam.
No.
So it's really just, will he cut Raven or will he cut one of the other people?
Yeah. Well, because even when Tom was an influencer, it was because people were trying to knock Raven and Chaz down, and it didn't
Yeah.
work. Like even that didn't work. Like they knocked Raven down, I think, to fourth. But it still wasn't enough to keep Chaz from being an influencer.
Yeah, and the thing was, I felt like part of the reason why Tom was actually loyal to Jen was because he was thinking about, who do I have that will vote for me on the final table?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like you said, it's like, I feel like the circle is such a chess game. So it's like you're still on the board, but by the point you get to 7 people or 6 people and it's the last group or whatever, you already played your game. So you're not going to move up from like 7 to 1.
The only way that happens is if there's some controversy or something goes down.
Yeah, it has to be something major that happens
And
at the
like the
last
hacker
minute
thing could have been that situation. It was,
if they
like I
played
said,
their
it was
cards
a
right.
missed opportunity because they could have created that situation to further their game, but they went after the wrong person.
They did.
It's like you can't be Chaz. You could talk about Chaz.
That was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, I'm like, if someone's really close, you would, like, even if you play Chaz, you can't go talk to Sam. Would Sam believe she was talking to him? Yes. But they're going to check with each other. They check in. Even I wouldn't have even talked to Raven as
No,
Chaz because
no,
they
no, no,
check
no.
in. And that's the thing. It's like you have to play somebody and go talk to somebody who doesn't normally check in with the group.
Exactly.
And that's not what they did. And that's why they messed themselves up and got exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I would have been Raven and I would have went to talk to somebody like Tom or Tamara, where they're not going to check in to see if Raven actually talked to them. They're just going to be happy she had a conversation with him.
Exactly.
They just didn't know how to use the power they were given because it's Brett.
Yeah.
He plays checkers. He doesn't play chess.
They had an opportunity They had a big opportunity placed in their hands, and Brett wasted it away and thought that it was the smartest thing ever. Yeah, we got her. Yeah, she definitely believed that. We said wifey.
Right. And then it came and bite them in the butt. They're like, oh, we got exposed.
I was like, I
How are
don't
we
know
going to
when this
fix
is gonna
this?
blow up, but it's gonna happen soon at some point.
Yeah. I think now that Tom is gone, it's going to come out to the rest of the group.
And maybe, and you know what? Sam strikes me as the person who keeps the information until she needs to use it.
Yep.
Like, I
Yep.
let you rock right now, but when the
But she
time
keeps
comes,
warning them. She's like, look, I'm going to throw this low key shade over and over again. So when I bring it up, everybody's going to be like, oh, that's who she was talking about. Okay.
yes, yes,
Because then you've already established that this is a running theme. Because if you just do it like, let's look at Big Brother. Like when Michael dropped the Kyle stuff, because he had not been having conversations with people to prime them for that drop, they were
exactly.
not just looking at Kyle, they were looking at him and Kyle
Very
and
good
Brittany
point. That's
too.
a very good point.
But because she keeps throwing those little nuggets out there, when she finally exposes it, they're going to be like, oh, now we
Now it makes sense.
yeah, and then they're going to connect all the dots where she was saying, hey, I'm seeing this over here, but since nobody else is seeing it, I'm going to wait and play it out, but I can't hold it any longer. And
Yep,
she won't get any blowback because she set the stage for this.
yep, yep. No, that makes perfect sense. Like Michael, if he had been dropping hints or being like, I'm letting you guys know there was a conversation that was had. Um, it was not something that was good. Whatever way he had to do it.
Yeah, because what I
Just
would have said in that situation, I've been like, you know what? I know we're in the leftovers, but I think you should watch out for Kyle. Like, I'm getting this a feeling, and you're gonna say, well, what? I'm like, it's just a feeling. I don't want to say nothing. I just want you to keep it in mind. Do that a couple times. Tell Taylor, because that's supposed to be your number 3 or
mhm.
your number 2. Have Brittany tell somebody else. So it's out there. But then when you guys finally play that card, it's not like you are just playing the card. It's you've been warning them and then finally you couldn't take it anymore type of
Yes,
situation.
yes,
Um, but they didn't do that. So everyone was blindsided. And so now I'm looking at your motives. Sam will have no blood on her hands when she brings this up. And she
right.
can say, look, I went to Chaz. We were having a conversation. He said it didn't happen. We went to the people
We went to
themselves,
Jennifer
had the
and Tom.
conversation,
Yep.
and they said it was Tom or it was Tamara or Oliver, and because I don't have a good relationship with the newbies, I didn't want to just put them out there until I had some more proof. But I really think it was Jennifer. And then when Tom left, I knew for a fact it was Jennifer. That's how I would have played it. And even if she had said, hey, right after the rankings, I had a private conversation, or right before the rankings, I had a private conversation with Tom, and he said this because they told him. So she could even say that and totally mess up their game. It would be a lie, but that would be the time to lie.
Wow. I'm telling you, you really need to get on this show because I'm listening to you and I'm like, man, I was thinking of some of these things, but you have such details for these
No, I mean,
strategies.
I can put it together.
It's like it's a puzzle.
It is, and I love those, and I think that's why I do what I do for a living, because it's like I see the patterns in things,
Mhm.
and then I see how you can just shift one or two things and the pattern changes. And with this type of show, it's easy to manipulate it to your advantage, but you only can do it so many times. It's like you have to be honest, you have to be open, you have to be genuine to get people to trust you. But then once they trust you and the gameplay starts,
Mhm.
then you can use them to do your dirty work. You
It's
can,
like the It's
It's
like they say on
relationships.
Survivor, trust is your currency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
And
just started
everyone
watching Survivor, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a few seasons. I'm not caught up. I have not watched all of them.
Mm.
When it first came out, I watched the first season, then I didn't watch it for a couple years, and then when CBS did the whole shift in how they were going to have representation, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch all the reality shows just to see if they are doing what they're saying they're going to do. And
Yes.
so we watched that season, and then since then I've been pretty current. Big Brother day one all through. Now getting into BB Canada, so I'm starting fresh with that
Me too
one.
with that. Me
Yeah,
too.
but The Circle, from the first episode that dropped, I have been with this and I love it. This is probably one of my favorite reality shows, just
Hey,
because
Milkman. Yeah.
it's one of those kind of games that I understand. Like this one, like there's no real competitions. It is all about how you are social, how you have conversations, how you make connections, because it's not based on anything other than your words.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think, that was brilliant to do that. I mean, I get it came out of the pandemic and everything, but it was brilliant
And
because
you're
social
so
media. Oh, go ahead.
and you're so right that even the ones that are catfish, they still have genuine pieces about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
like it's
that's the
not somebody
problem.
who's totally off base who
Right.
you're
And when
seeing
they
sitting in
are,
the
they get
final.
exposed.
They get exposed. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't be, you know, you can play a boy and be a girl, like, or a woman and a man. And you can do that if you understand that you need to inject your personality into that person. You
Yes.
know, if I was to go catfish and I would be a guy, all my tomboy qualities, I would have to kind of pump those up. But they would have the same job I had, they would
Yeah,
have the
yeah, yeah,
same
yeah. Like
relationships
some
I
people
had.
try too hard.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
like,
when you
oh, I'm
try to
gonna be a
creep.
woman and I'm gonna be a sexy model.
Yeah, no. Like, no, you know.
Like I love hair and showing off my body and sitting by the beach and you know
Yeah,
combing my
or,
hair and putting on
you know,
makeup. It's like, no, you're trying too hard.
yeah, or if, you do a gender bend, it's like, hey, I'm a girl playing a guy who's going to play a gay man. So then I can talk about guys. So then I'm okay.
Yes.
The guy who played, oh, go ahead.
Like Tamira is not that big of a shift because she says that she's like more on the man side
Mm-hmm.
and she's trying to play a little bit more feminine, but she's
Right.
still kind of herself.
Right. Because she's still, a lesbian. And that's cool
Yes,
because then she can have those authentic conversations like she did with Oliver. The guy
exactly,
who played
Oliver.
his mom, I had, like, Aunt Carol, like, everybody knew that was a catfish. And they didn't care
Yes.
because he was so likable.
Yes.
But I'm like, yeah, when he had to have the sex conversation um about his parents having sex, I think that might have scarred me for life. Like, can you give me some tips? Like, oh yeah, I'd have
Oh,
been skeeved out. Like that would have been one of those. I don't know if I would have made it. I might have self-ejected before I had that
I would
conversation.
I would not want to play my mom.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's like that's one of those where you're like, yeah, I don't want to have those conversations with people, about how I love my husband and all that. Yeah. No.
Remember Ed
Mm-hmm.
when Ed went on there with his mother?
Yeah.
That was
That was fun.
hilarious.
That was fun. Because she's like, no, you can't say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't do that with my mom. I mean, we're close. Like we live next door to each other, kind of close. But yeah, I couldn't. There'd just be no way. No.
Well, Danny, I want to thank you so much for being on here for this recap.
No
Um,
worries. Thank you for
Man,
having me.
yeah, your insights are amazing. Actually, I was gonna mention before I hop off this because I'm hopping off pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see the first episode of Traders. I'm not gonna spoil it, but did you see it yet?
I have not seen it yet, so
Okay.
that's one of my weekend watches. So, um,
It's kind of interesting. I'm not giving anything about the episode really, but just the concept itself is just that they have the faithful and they have the traders.
mm-hmm.
So they pick three people in the house. The host picks three people in the house that are going to be traders, and randomly, anonymously, or whatever. Nobody knows, obviously, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of reminds me of the mole in a little bit, except
Yeah.
for the mole, they don't let the viewer know. But in traders, the viewer does know who is picked.
Okay.
And then those three people kind of work together, and basically they get rid of people in the house. And if the traders, I don't know if it's if all three of them are still there or if even one of them is still there. Probably if even one of them is there, they get to keep the pot. And if they get rid of all the traders, then the rest of the people left get to keep the pot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm definitely watching that this weekend.
Yeah, so they do like missions and stuff, and they try to figure out things from the missions. I bet you would love that show too.
Yeah. I mean, I love the mole, so,
If you love the mole, I believe that even though I watched one episode, I think that there's some similar characteristics.
okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that then. And I got to get caught up, so when you do your viewing party on Saturday, I'll be ready cuz I haven't started. So, I got a few episodes to watch before tomorrow, before Saturday.
I saw episode 1 and 2. I'm halfway through episode 3, and then I'll watch episode 4 with everyone else.
Okay.
But my first impressions, just based on what I've seen so far, is that the Canadians are more savage than I thought they would be. But I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
what I
because,
keep hearing. Yeah.
but I think it's kind of because this is somewhat like, those Return of the Legend seasons.
Mhm.
So I don't really know what a season of BB Can is like with all 16 fresh house guests, because it seems like they picked savage returners
Oh, I'm in for it.
for season
I'm
5.
ready for it. Yeah. So that's tomorrow. I will be watching the first 3 episodes tomorrow, so I'll be ready for Saturday.
Nikki says that was a nice recap of The Circle. Thank you, Dani J, Music and Mental Health.
Thank you
Shai
for
said great
having me. Oh,
interview.
hi MILF. I didn't even see the message. Hey MILF.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I cannot wait for these last the finale episodes to drop of The Circle cuz I just want to see how they get to the end
Oh
and what
yeah, such a
Chaz is going to do.
cliffhanger. I've always been saying to myself, thank God they're dropping 4 at a time. Because if this is one of those shows that dropped 1 at a time,
I died, especially where
I,
they cut it. Yeah.
I would have a heart attack, like waiting a week between how they end the episodes and
I
what you have to wait
know.
for the next one.
Yeah, and they always ended in such a weird way. Like we don't know who's gonna get blocked until the next episode, or it's like we saw who got blocked, then we're halfway through. They start the ratings, then they cut it, and it's like
Yes.
you can't just leave me hanging like that. So I am glad that we always get like a chunk of episodes each time.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
though this one was kind of like, okay, well, this is a good place to cut it off for the week. But at the same time, we left you with just enough for that trailer for the next episode that you're gonna come back. Because I'm like,
Exactly.
if Chaz does what I think he's gonna do, I'm gonna be pissed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm right
So
there with you, Dani.
yeah, so I'm just paying to the Circle guys that he has an epiphany and he gets rid of Jennifer. Then I'll be happy. But if anything else happens, I probably will not be
Please
happy.
don't let Jennifer be on that final table. Please.
No, I can't. I can't.
Please, please. I was so mad actually that Marvin got blocked. Not because like I didn't care if Marvin got blocked afterwards, but I'm like, let's focus on Jennifer. And
Right.
then Tom gets blocked, and I'm like, what are these people doing?
Yeah, I was throwing my hands up at that point because I'm like, first, Well, and with Tom, it was the ranking, so that was okay because it's not like someone chose him.
Yeah, that was good.
You know, it was Jennifer messing up the rankings.
Yes.
You know, and him being an honorable guy. Because if I was him, after I found out that Jennifer was the hacker, I'd have ranked her lower. I would not have put her in my number one spot because I would think in my head, I had to come to you and ask the question, as your number one ally, why didn't you come to me? You were the
Exactly.
hacker. You could have had that conversation with me and we could have came up with a strategy.
Exactly. And that's the that's the one thing that Brett ever did that was smart.
Mm-hmm.
Because ranking Tom last saved them.
And that's what he said. He knew
Yeah.
what he was doing.
Yeah.
She felt bad about it because she's like, he's our number one. And he was like, would you rather your number one be here or us?
And you peeped that he said, in all my calculations. I was like, he
Mm-hmm.
has a brain.
Yeah, I was
didn't know.
like, wait, is he doing the math like I'm doing the math? Because when he did that, I was like, oh, we in trouble. We in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
And he did the math. I'm like, well, maybe that's the part of his brain that works. I don't know.
The part that does math. He's like, you know what? The relationship part, reading the room, I don't have any of that. But in terms of doing the numbers when it comes to the rankings, I can figure out how to keep us out of dead last.
And
We
he's
might
been
get
pretty
sixth.
good at that because he's been doing the rankings. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, he might not be as dumb as we think.
Yeah. He just plays one on TV. Anyways, Danny, I really enjoyed this conversation. And we will definitely chat sometime soon.
Yes, definitely.
All right. And have a great night to you and everyone else who's watching out there.
All right. Good night. Thanks for having
Okay.
me.
Bye now.
Bye.